boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes, little boxes, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes, little boxes all the same.
Or if you really need to leave them on, like to take pictures or do some silent texting perhaps, put them on silent mode like I'm doing with mine right now. And then if a call comes through, ignore it, so you're not talking on the phone bothering your neighbors, right? We know how annoying that is when people are talking on their phones when we're trying to enjoy something, right? And just not refer to it by my name. Just a little personal thing I have about that. Then also, if you'd be so kind as to consider the fact that whatever you leave back there follows us around for the rest of the day. So your discretion is appreciated in the use of that room. It is there for emergencies, and it will take us a couple of stops till our third stop, actually, to get to a stop that has public toilets off the bus. So if you really need to, wait till one of the stops, though, so you're not moving about the things you're seeing around you now. But as we come around the corner, take a look to the right, kind of low tide right now, so I'm going to move farther over to the right. Now, you can see the actual fish wharf where only commercial fishing vessels are allowed to dock. Now you can say you've seen San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf. And of course, Skoma's is right down there in the middle of it all. That's one of the more popular restaurants in the Fisherman's Wharf area. But I want you to keep your minds and your reservations open for your dining pleasure in the evenings, because I'm going to be pointing out a lot more fantastic Fruit Canning Association back in 1907. And just 2 years after it was built, it had already become the largest fruit canning facility in the nation, cranking out 200,000 hand-soldered cans of peaches a day. And that's when they changed their name from the California Fruit Canning Association to the much more highly recognizable, see that older red brick building built at an angle to the rest. That was the original chocolatieri building here at the square. I'll tell you something more about that in a moment. But now we're approaching the entrance to the Maritime Museum. It's open very limited hours at Deli Square, the one that used to be rendered on all the chocolate wrappers you'd buy from Ghirardelli Chocolates. The clock tower is no longer on the wrapper, and the chocolates are no longer made here at the square. Now they're made over in Oakland on the other side of the bay. And some of you might be able to see straight out ahead of us the single tower suspension section of the Oakland San Francisco Bay Bridge. Now please forgive my habit. My boss keeps trying to get me to call it the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge, but I grew up in Oakland. I always call it the Oakland San Francisco Bay Bridge. It's actually two bridges that meet in the middle at a natural island called Yerba Buena. Now, let's say in the 1960s, that might misinterpret the meaning of the city's name. Good herb, 60. Okay, you don't have to admit it if you got that joke. But you're killing me, people. But at the bottom of this hill, we're gonna make a right turn onto Columbus Avenue. Before I turn, I'm gonna pull straight out across 3 feet tall, but it only has 48 working floors of office space, as opposed to the much more voluminous Bank of America building you'll see to its right in a few moments, which has 52 working floors of office space. Much more square footage, but it's not quite as tall. Now, the Transamerica Corporation built their building 2 years after the Bank of America building was completed in 1969. Famous car chase scene in the movie Bullitt with Steve McQueen. Somebody must have seen it, right? Now, go Netflix that movie, or go buy the DVD in the bargain bin at Best Buy or something. I got it for $5 myself. But now, in this next intersection, I'm going to show you yet another roadway. Of course, we'll wait for the next green light here as well, so I don't have to rush through the intersection once again. And this time you're going to have to look back over your right shoulder at a direction of about 4 o'clock back to the right. Look up at the top of the hill on Lombard Street, and you're going to see the street. Wait till we pull up into the intersection. You're going to see the street that was built in 1925 to better accommodate all of those trendy motor cars that were being driven around more and more in those days. And it features in just a 1-block stretch. Should be blooming still. And there they are, winding their way down through the flower beds in the middle of the street, on the crookedest street in the world. You thought it was Wall Street in New York. No, it's Lombard, right here in San Francisco, yes. Sitting farther back and haven't seen it yet, I'm going to edge forward slowly. Yankees. Now, Joe came back to his childhood church in 1954 when he married that sexy legend of the silver screen. Had their wedding photos taken on the front steps. They also had their reception in a hall out back. But folks, look at that little playground directly to your left, right next to the church. That's the same little playground where all the DiMaggio brothers learned how to swing their bats. And we're here in the heart of Little Italy. Top, we season our garlic with food. But now, we're just arriving at the famous intersection of Broadway and Columbus. On the left is the Condor Club. Folks, that was the very first nightclub in this nation to feature topless reviews back in 1964, when Carol Doda revealed herself to the patrons at the Condor Club on a bet, right to your left. But when we go through the intersection, on the other side of the intersection on the right, you're going to see the famous City Lights bookstore. Famous bookstore of such famous authors as Jack Kerouac and Allen Ginsberg back in the beat and hip generations of the 50s and 60s. But folks, I gotta take you back 100 years prior to that to tell you about the area we're coming into now, which was simply known by the gold prospectors as the Barbary Coast. This is where they would come after leaving their ships at the bottom of the hill straight ahead of us to the next street we're about to cross, which they called Terrific Pacific Street, because this is where they would come to spend just 1 or 2 last nights in the company of women folk before heading up into the Sierra Nevada foothills all by their lonesomes. And the ladies would stand out on the balconies down here on Pacific Street. Movie posters. Oh, he's got his daughter's movie poster out there as well. Black Stallion and Lost in Translation. That was his daughter's film. She was the director anyway. Bill Murray sitting on the hotel room bed. Great movie. But now, ladies and gentlemen, as we get to the bottom of this hill, I wanted to tell you a little about the original, where little cable cars climb halfway to the stars. Didn't quite pick that last note. But first, look at this California Street cable car. Now later, don't say it yet, I'm at the famous Grant Avenue, San Francisco, California, USA. Look to the left and the right at all the ornamental street lamps, the colorful signs and banners with Chinese characters, the paper lanterns strung across the roadway. San Francisco's beautiful Chinatown. But now, I wanted to talk to you just a wee bit more. 60s, and then declared a national landmark. Folks, they are our only rolling national landmark. And the locals have a little favor to ask of you while you're here in their city, that you don't call them. Above the entrance to the Fairmont Hotel, those flags represent all of the original countries in the United Nations whose delegates met there before the signing of the charter. That hotel was featured in many television programs and films over the years. It served as St. Gregory's in the television show Hotel, was featured in the movie The Rock, and many others. And it was finally completed exactly 1 year to the day after the earthquake of 1906. But the building on your left is the Flood Mansion, a 42-room mansion built by James C. Flood in 18... Now, as we make this left turn, you'll have beautiful views of the bay down below. Once again, you'll see the double spires of Saints Peter and Paul Church now highlighted against the bay down to the right. It's a pretty view. A little hazy out there, but it's still a nice day for views. Of course, now as we complete the turn though, folks, look up to the right after we turn. And then you're going to see the beautiful bronze gilded doors up to your right that are duplicates of the doors that originally graced one of the baptistries in Florence, Italy, by the famous Italian sculptor Gilberti. Now, the ones in Florence had to be removed and completely restored at one point because tourists had been rubbing them with their hands over many, many years, wearing them down. That's why they have that wrought iron fence in front of the doors of Grace Cathedral, so you can't touch them. Come back early in the morning and go inside and you can see the sun shining through that rose window and the sun shining on the doors as well. And this time, after we complete, back to our right, and we're gonna go down its steep counterpart 2 blocks further down. We're gonna start going down a steep hill on the other side. Now, when we get towards the bottom of this hill up ahead, we're gonna be passing through the Tenderloin district, which got its name because that's where all the butcher shops used to be located. And the butchers used to give out free tenderloin steaks to the cops to get them to patrol their neighborhood. Stop, don't worry about taking pictures yet. That dome, ladies and gentlemen, is 12 feet taller than the U.S. Capitol Dome in Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, it's the tallest domed building in this nation. And before you ask, yes, that's all real gold leaf that ornaments the dome and the doors and the balconies of our beautiful City Hall. Now, all the bus spots are taken up, a couple of vans hogging the whole bus spot here, so let's see, is that guy gonna move? I might just stop right here. Hold on a second. Looks like he's not going anywhere over there.
And there's doctors, and there's lawyers, and there's business executives, and they all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same. Golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children, and the children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university where they all get put in boxes, and they all come out just the same. And marry and raise a family in boxes, little boxes, all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same.